All right. Welcome back to another Serious Angler podcast, episode number 145. 5 away from 150, dude. Another milestone. This is getting wild. We're getting old.
Should we do something for 150? I feel like that's a milestone.
I feel like we should. We'll have to get something together. We'll get something to work this week. So yeah, let's just go. Let's roll with that, dude. All right, we're gonna do a giveaway. Episode 150. What it's gonna be, I have no idea
We'll
yet.
let you know
about
Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll let you know by Wednesday. But yeah, episode 150 coming up. Why not? Let's do it. Let's do a giveaway for you folks who've been supporting us for so long. So welcome, guys. Welcome to another show. Do you like my hat? Not to go sidetrack again.
Mine
But
sitting at your house. Thanks,
yeah.
man.
We'll have to send Matt a screenshot if he's not watching tonight. That thanks for the hats. But
Yeah, he's
tonight,
practicing for Pickwick.
for old Pickwick. What's going on, Pickwick?
For the Bass Nation tournament. Federation.
Oh, right, the Bass Nation Championship, correct?
Yeah, it's either Yeah, I think it's the championship. It is.
Yeah. Because a big shout out to old Rich Lindgren down there, Mr. Hellabass. He's competing as a boater. So good luck to Rich as he competes in that.
Heck yeah. Got some good familiar faces going this weekend.
Yeah. Hopefully they wreak havoc and we have something to celebrate about after they're done.
Heck yeah.
That'd be pretty cool seeing Mr. Hellabass at the Bassmaster Classic.
Ooh.
Yeah. We'll have to tease him a little bit on the show today. Give him some juice coming up for Pickwick. But tonight's gonna be a fun show. We got Mr. Jeff Gustafson coming on. The snow leopard, which we are going to ask him why the heck he is called a snow leopard. I'm curious the story behind that. But make sure you guys are getting your questions in for Jeff. We'll be sure to put all your questions up on the live stream so that he can see them, he can answer them. But my man Andy, what's going on, dude? How's your week been? And
last week I was on vacation. Did a lot of home improvements. Had to buy a new fridge and stove. About 10 minutes ago, I finally installed my fridge. So my dad came over and helped me do that. We had to turn the water main off to the house, switch on a valve, put a plug on it, and hook the fridge up. So we did that. And yeah, then we did some fishing at the end of the week last week. We sucked, me and Bailey, horribly, except for
yeah. No curse.
We won't go there. The Bailey curse.
Hey. So basically, we would have done very well at our tournament. The day sucks, but we would have done well. But me being the dummy that I am, I lost a smallmouth, a decent smallie right at the boat. I'm going to blame it on Lake Erie beyond blaming it on myself. Just being so used to 4 or 5 pounders that when I saw a 3-pounder, I was like, just playing him, like joking, and he just pops off. Like, I was not expecting that to happen.
Nope.
I was about to swing him in, but yep, kind of screwed us thinking we were going to catch more fish throughout that day, but nope, we did not.
It is what it is. And then we went to another Finger Lake on Saturday, and my only 2 bites were tiger muskie or pike. Toothy critters of sort, and Bailey got a couple good ones. But yeah, I suck right now. I'm going to the river or Lake Erie on Wednesday on Veterans Day. Thank you guys. And I'm going to take my federal bank holiday off and go slay some smallmouth somewhere.
There you go.
Get my mood right.
Hey, yeah. So are you thinking over under 100 bites on Wednesday or what?
I'm going to say under because I suck right now.
You got to get out of your head, man. This last weekend really did you in.
Well, it depends. If I can get on Erie, I'm going to take the over. If I'm on the river or lower river, I'm going to take the under.
You said I was calling 2 4-footers, right, as of right now for Wednesday?
Yeah. And my little almost 19-foot boat, that doesn't fare well on Erie.
Well, who knows with our weather right now?
1 to 3s, but once you start getting like 4s, it's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, who knows? It's fall weather. Who knows what that's going to do? But
they call for 4s. It could be glass or 8-footers. So.
No thanks.
Yeah,
I'll pass. But yeah, we'll talk about some smallmouth more because I see he's joined us here in the queue, Mr.
Sweet.
Jeff Gustafson. We're not going to waste any more time. What's going on, man? How are you? Can you hear us?
How's it going, boys?
Hey, good evening.
Good. I'm in. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late here. I was on the wrong time zone.
Hey, no worries. We're
Happens to the best of
professionally
us.
unprofessional, so it's fine.
I like the deer heads behind you.
All good. Well,
Can you hear us okay?
There's a big deer head, and then I've got a big poles. I used to find a lot of shed antlers, so that's it's a lot of sheds actually.
That's wicked.
And I got them just sort of stacked up on a pole there, so yeah, it's kind of cool. But
nice.
Yeah.
Did this fall swing hinder your?
So you guys were talking about catching 100 bass.
What's that?
Say that again.
I think we got a delay going on.
You guys were talking about catching 100.
Yeah. So I live on the eastern end of Lake Erie. In
Is it bad?
Oh boy, we're all over the place right now. Hold on, I'll remove you real quick. All right, let's see if the delay is still here. Can you hear us okay? Uh-oh.
All good, yeah.
There's like a 20-second delay.
Really?
Oh man.
Yeah, just a little bit. We might be able to work with it though.
Yeah, real quick, Jeff. Try leaving the broadcast and then entering right back in real quick. See if that fixes it.
Okay.
That actually wasn't too bad right there. At the end, like it almost looked like it got back to normal.
I know. We got to get him back on because he was talking smallmouth right there at the end, and that got me excited.
Yes.
Yeah, we got the comment people saying that there's a delay, so it's not just us.
Yes, get back, Zach.
Yep, old Zach Hall joining us. Let's see if he's joining back in. All right, how about now? Can you hear us?
It's all good on my end.
Oh, sweet.
That's much better.
Perfect. That's probably our end then. But you were talking something.
Well, I live like in the middle of nowhere here in Canada, and I have this is hit or miss like with my internet. Like the last few times, everything's worked really good when I've done these, but I have had some where it's been bad. So if it's bad, we'll try again next week or something. But hopefully we'll be all good.
We'll make it work. So back to the smallmouth comment. What were you saying?
Well, I heard you talking about catching 100 fish in a day, so I'm sure you're talking up north somewhere. Not, I just spent 6 weeks down south, and I think I had 2 good days of fishing in the entire 6. I fished almost every day for 6 weeks, and I had like 2 good days.
Oh, I couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, ended up having some good tournaments there. This last one was my worst one first tournament I've ever had in my life, but. Survived, the first 3 pretty good. So, but it was grindy, tough fishing. And just, you guys are from up north, so you kind of, we're not used to, 4 bites in a day is a good day,
Right. Yeah, that's tough. Mentally that would absolutely destroy me being from the north, and that's something that is going to be interesting. Next week I travel down to Lake Chickamauga for a big kayak tournament. And that's something that I'm hoping the bite's either good, but I'm trying to mentally grasp the concept of it very well could be a grind. And it's
Listen to me right now. There's not a chance that it's going to be good. It's going to be a grind. Listen to what I'm telling you right now.
It can't be much worse than our past weekend. We fished 2 little derbies one derby on the Finger Lakes and fun fished, and we had 5 keeper bites on Friday, and then 2 keeper bites Saturday. So
really, huh?
Well, what happened was it got cold, so we're like 40, like low 30s at night, mid 40s during the day. And this past 5 days, it's been in the 70s.
Oh yeah.
So they got just in that weird funk. We'd see them swimming, they just wouldn't eat. So it happens. But Lake Erie is just on fire.
Up here too in the fall, where it's almost like if it gets a warm front now at this point in the season's like getting a cold front, during the spring and summer, and it does make the fishing tougher for sure.
Yeah, especially those shallower lakes. Unlike like Andy and I were talking too, with like a Lake Erie, where if you're fishing 40 foot, the air temps aren't going to play that much of a factor when like the water's still 50 degrees, 40 foot below. I mean, it's going to be entirely different.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Andy's buddies, we've been seeing them on social media, and people are absolutely destroying them on Lake Erie right now. So
yeah. I'm extremely blessed. I live 10 minutes from Safe Harbor in Buffalo, New York. So I live in the golden land of fall smallmouth fishing.
Yeah, except when the wind blows. Takes the fun out of that.
Yeah, but I have the Niagara River where we can catch just as many fish, but just not the same size. So
right.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Now you mentioned your central time. So what's body of water is closest to you that most people would know about?
Well, I live on Lake of the Woods, so for bass tournament anglers, we have some really good tournaments up here, but not national level events. Obviously, we share the lake with Minnesota. It's 1 million acres, so it's huge. 14,000 islands. I mean, you could never fish it all in a lifetime. It's a big lake, and one of the best multi-species lakes in the world. Walleyes, muskies, you got everything, and then really good ice fishing in the winter. So I do a little bit of that, but I'm like 7 hours straight north of Minneapolis, if that makes so sort of center of the continent, and I live about 60 miles north of the border.
Oh, okay. Nice. Do you get an opportunity to fish the Great Lakes much, but beyond a Elite Series tournament?
Not really, but I've gone and fished the Sturgeon Bay Open since like the early 2000s. So that's sort of where a lot of my experience comes from, and then made friends with a lot of guys there, and sort of stay in touch with what smallmouths on the Great Lakes do during the rest of the year. Just from those guys. But, so I don't have a ton of experience, but I've done it enough now over the years where it's, I enjoy it. And I mean, we're going back to the St. Lawrence River next year. And so that's like a bucket list trip for me every year. I mean, I really have enjoyed that, but I've only fished it the last 2 years when we've gone for elite events. And I've loved it. I've had a great time.
Heck yeah. Well, dude, before we get too deep in the show here, you're obviously new to the show. It's our first time having you on. And so for everybody who's new, we like to hear, what your first bass fishing story was like, that first catch, who got you into fishing, the whole 9 yards.
Sure. No, I listen to most of the podcasts. I'm a subscriber, and
heck yeah.
I listen to a lot of podcasts when I'm pre-fishing. We have to practice by ourselves, so I listen to you guys at Bass Talk Live, Duncan, Stray Casts, and kind of keep up with what's going on when I'm in the boat by myself. So that's what I'm listening to most. But for me, like most of us, my dad, my grandpa used to take me out, and that got me fishing at a really young age. And then, like I said, we have some pretty good tournaments up here in the summer. They're like community run events, and there's a big one in Kenora, my hometown, called the Kenora Bass International. And like over the year, it's been going on since like 1988. And so over the years, like Ito and Dion Hibden have fished it. The Linders, Al and Ron and Jane, the whole Linder clan used to come up for years. They won it many times. Terry Baxay from your area, OT Beers used to come and fish it together for years. There's been, it's a big event. And so when I was a little kid, they still do it today, but they have a kids tournament while the big one's going on just off the dock. And I started getting into that when I was like 6, 8 years old. And for my 10th birthday or Christmas, when I was 10 years old, my parents got my dad and I an entry fee into the tournament the next year. So my dad, he fished lots, but he wasn't a bass fisherman. He fished for walleyes, trout. When he went fishing, it was to catch dinner. And so we were both very green at it. And our, when we first started, the goal was just to catch a bass so we could walk across the stage. And it took us a few years, but after 4 or 5 years, we were starting to get competitive, and I had caught the bug for it, and was our season's fairly short up here, but eventually I was fishing in every tournament that I could, over the summer, and then guiding in between, and that's sort of all I've ever really done.
That's pretty sweet.
Now, do you still guide when you're home then?
I do a little bit, yeah. I probably did. This year's been a little bit messed up, obviously, but I probably do like 10 ice trips and maybe 15 to 20 open water trips, and then a few deer hunting trips in the fall, and a few wolf hunting trips like early January. So I still do a little bit, just to kind of, and a lot of the trips now are with friends that have been coming for years, and buddies and connections through the fishing industry. So most of the time when I go now, it's a lot of fun and good people that I'm getting to spend the day with.
Awesome. Do you say wolf hunting guide trips?
Yeah. So our deer hunting, our deer hunting's kind of gotten tough over the last 5 or 6 years. Just like some bad winters, but it was really, really good. And then the wolf population like exploded too. So it started out just as I wanted to get rid of wolves around some of my deer areas, and then it's just a unique thing. And there's still a lot of them around here, but they're not as crazy as they were. But yeah, we bait them with like deer and moose scraps, roadkill deer. Just freeze them in the ice, like in these little beaver ponds and stuff. And you get them out on the ice and just be sitting in a ground blind up on shore with a heater. And,
easy pickings.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Oh my God. Okay,
yeah.
So I know a lot of people are tuning into this for fishing purposes, but I have to ask one question, so please bear with me. How eerie, creepy, whatever you want to call it, is it going into the woods first thing in the morning when it's pitch black, knowing that there's wolves all over the place?
Honestly, when I'm like doing my deer stuff in the fall, I'm usually hauling some bait around and going and changing trail cameras and stuff. And I've run into them or heard them howling over the hill. When I'm actually setting up the wolf baits, I do that all by snowmobile. So it's, they really don't want anything to do with people. So like they're actually not that scary. But I've had a few run-ins like in the fall, just in no gun with me or nothing, where I've ran into them in the woods, and but they see you and they just sort of go the other way. I mean, I'm sure if you ran into a sick one or something, maybe you could get into some trouble, but they don't want anything to do with people really, for the most part. And like in a lot of places, for as many as there are, you really don't see them very often. I mean, there's tons of them around here, and they're really smart. Like if you shoot one off one of these baits, you just pack it up. Like they won't come back. They know. And one other thing about the wolf hunting, and then we'll get back to fishing, but the best call, like you could call them in too, and I've got some calls, but we never use them. The best call you got when you set up these baits is you want a bunch of birds on the bait, like ravens. We get some eagles stay here all winter, so you want those birds on the bait. They make all kinds of noise, and that's one thing I've learned is like if there's no birds on that bait pile, there's not a single chance that a wolf will come to it. And I've dropped guys, like I always drop the guys off in the dark, and those birds will get on it like right away. And there's been days where I've been late getting a guy into a stand or a spot and have spooked the birds off. And sometimes they come right back, and other times like they'll just sit in the trees all day staring at it and they don't touch it. And they're like, I used to I don't even use trail cameras really on these things anymore, just because I don't think these wolves are smart. I don't think it helps, but I've got like tons of cool pictures of them over the years. And there's always birds on these baits when the wolves if the wolves come out and make an appearance.
That's so cool.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. That's
insider wolf trapping secrets.
Yeah. Your observance obviously translates from that to fishing. I feel like that definitely helps. Most people I don't think will pick up on that. But
yeah, for sure. I mean,
right. I'm curious, and I told Andy I really wanted to ask this question because every time Dave Mercer announces you when you come on stage, he always brings up the snow leopard, and I think it's awesome. But I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm always curious, like, why did they call him that? So I'm curious, how did that nickname start? And are you allowed to tell it on live?
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's nothing bad. So I stay with Chris Groh and Seth Feider usually at all the events, and most of the time the Johnston brothers stay with us too. So it's usually the five of us. But last year when we were at Hartwell, it was just the Groh and Feider and I. And I have a couple cats at home. Grew up with dogs, a dog and a cat, but I'm gone so much, so it's tough to have a dog. But my wife and I have two cats, so I like cats. Whatever, take some chirps for that. But we're at Lake Hartwell last year, and there was a Nat Geo show on. I forget what it was called. It was like Predator something. It was like all about like the best predators in the world, basically. So they had a clip of like a snow leopard taking down a goat, and they like tumble for like a mile down this mountain. Like, it's crazy. And Fighter was just like, dude, you're the snow leopard. And then he told Mercer the next day, like, hey, call Gussie the snow leopard, and that's where it kind of came from. So I feel a lot fortunate because Mercer doesn't give everybody a nickname. Like, I think he's kind of told us, like, he gives a nickname to like the guys that he thinks are cool or that he likes. So I'm kind of honored.
Yeah, I think it definitely helps the brand.
The brand,
yeah.
And maybe you're both from Canada.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, maybe like I had like a Sims camel pattern on my boat wrap this year, but maybe we gotta like incorporate some leopard action into it next year.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Are we talking like a snow white camo, or are we talking like a cheetah, like an orange leopard camo?
Well, like I think the cheetah pattern, but like a little bit more snowy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, maybe we can get everyone listening to the podcast to like toss some ideas around. I mean, you guys got a snow leopardy pattern on your logo too. Like,
yeah. Good
there you go. If anyone's listening right now, throw in some ideas for us here. But totally get like the face of a snow leopard on the side, right by the G. Loomis.
Well, I mean, you're trying to go like Steve Kennedy-esque at that point because I forgot what he has on his shirt, but the
tiger.
Yeah,
he's got the tiger on his boat wrap. So that that's kind of his deal. But
I didn't realize it was on his boat wrap. That's cool.
Yeah. That's we
have a question for you here from Jason. He said, thanks for joining. He said, can you talk a little bit about how anglers should be using their live scope when they first pull into an area?
Honestly, never used it before. I'm a Humminbird guy, and a few tournaments this year, it beat my ass for sure. So St. Clair being one of them, just the way the fish were sort of set up there, and then obviously like what Walters did at Lake Fork this weekend was pretty interesting. Nobody's seen it yet or knows anything about it. Hummingbird's got it coming down the pipe here, and
on the Gen 4 boxes it says like live enabled or something. I heard on all the Gen 4 boxes and Gen 3 Solix.
So, yeah. So I haven't talked to like anyone that's actually seen it or used it yet. They're keeping it pretty tight, but sort of been told that we should have it for the new year. And I mean, that live stuff's not for every situation. I mean, but when fish are suspended, or a little bit deeper, it's certainly got an application. There's no doubt. So you've seen, some of these guys put it on their boat this year, and it was worth it. And for some guys, it wasn't. Walters, obviously, it was for him. He's won a couple $100,000 here in the last month. So, but yeah. I've got a few friends around home that use it, and it's obviously it's obviously got a time and place for sure. So, but I've never had it or used it before.
I think what's really cool about it, and like take it for instance of like Walters. Well, first of all, putting up a Century Club belt on a jerkbait, I think is freaking awesome in itself. But a jerkbait and live scope, I think, is really cool because people always talk about how difficult, learning a cadence and getting confident with a jerkbait can be. And I feel like with that live scope, watching your jerkbait on live scope and how those fish react to it can gain you an extra confidence. Not even just a jerkbait too, and any bait that you can see and watch how those fish react to it. I think that's pretty cool. Not just finding fish, but seeing how they react when you can't see them visually with your own eyes.
Yeah, I mean, it was like I watched some of the live stuff yesterday, and like, yeah, it was killing me, like, because it made so much sense what he was doing. Like, I actually was fishing some of the same stretches that he was at Fork. Like on day 2, I just ran into fishing him, and he went and pulled up to this area that I'd fished earlier in the day and the day before. Like I caught a couple flipping some of those trees in practice, and they were random lucky bites, and I just went, I got a bite there, I went back to it, never caught anything. And it made, I think a lot of the bites I got, I actually thought I was going to catch a limit and like survive this thing after my practice. But thinking back now, a lot of the bites I got, the bait was on the fall, I'd just like tighten up and there'd be one on it, and I really missed the boat on what these fish were just really suspending in these trees. And then, he figured out how to find them and how to catch them. But I mean, like an umbrella rig, I think, we see fish following those a lot just when we get the bait under the boat or under the trolling motor. So, I mean, you could see, it'd be interesting to see, how many you actually pull off of a structure with an umbrella rig and how many actually follow it. And some of that, there's other applications obviously too, but yeah.
That's wild to me. I've used it a few times, and one of the guys you've actually recently stayed with at Sprague's house, Destin DeMarion, he's the one to actually show me the live scope, and it was nutty. Yeah. That thing. Just watching everything and see what you can see. And Andrew over here got the pleasure of using it for almost a 30-pound bag of smallmouth.
I'm sure you heard about that at this point.
Yeah. Congrats. I forgot. Yeah, I did. That was good news 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Right before Fork, in between Chick and Fork, we had planned it to fish it all along. Me and Destin are really good buddies, I would say, and we had the plan since the schedule came out to fish, and I was like, oh man, so you can't make it, I understand. And he's like, no, I'm coming, and we just beat the crap out of him. So it was a blast.
Yeah, awesome.
That's awesome. So one question I have for you, and this is something, honestly, I would like to ask any angler, but I think it's one that I think is great for discussion is, when you're in an area and there's fish around. You find an area that has fish, but you're struggling to get bit. In your mind, what are you jumping to first? Is it, are you going to change the color of what you're throwing? Are you going to change your presentation, like maybe slow it down, speed it up? Or are you going to change your bait entirely? What do you usually jump to first?
Well, I mean, it's so variable depending on, if there's largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass. But I think most of us that fish a lot, you have your lineup of baits that you like. And I mean, for me, just going back to this earlier in this fall swing we fished at Gunnersville, Santee, and then Chickamauga. And at Gunnersville and Chickamauga, I mean, they were fairly similar events, a couple weeks apart on the Tennessee River. And for me, it was a spinnerbait, a frog, and a bait to flip with. And then I kind of went into Santee with the same. I didn't really change a lot of the baits I had tied on, and so I threw a spinnerbait a lot to kind of cover water, a chatterbait a little bit, and then a frog if I got around some stuff where you could throw a frog, and then anywhere I saw a mat or something good to flip, I'd flip it or punch it, and that a lot. all those were ways that I could cover a fair amount of water and try to generate some bites, and that's, you know, that's sort of what I did in those events. And then at Fork, it was a little different, no grass or anything, and you know, but I don't know. The number one thing by far, no matter what species you're fishing or where you're fishing, is to find fish. If you're not putting your bait in front of fish, it doesn't really matter what you're using. So that, you know, I get asked all the time, what's your favorite color of this? Or, you know, bait, you know, people are interested in what your favorite baits are all the time. And really it's finding the fish that's the most important thing. And then I really like I carry way less tackle now with me than I did when I started doing this 7 or 8 years ago. And just, you know, instead of like 20 different colors of plastics, I mean, I have a ton of green pumpkin, a little bit of black and blue, and then, you know, some white and shad colored stuff. But I really don't, you know, the colors and stuff aren't that important to me as much as just like finding fish,
right?
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, entirely. And that's pretty similar to how my mind works as well. I feel like for me, like just kind of like how you explained, I have like a shad color, I have, you know, a green pumpkin, black and blue, like a bluegill color. That's about as far as I'll go, because I know with my brain, if I try to really break it down to all the minute details of every single thing going on, I'm going to spin out before I even get on the water. So it's one thing for me is just figure out a general color that's going to be working with the conditions, and then just find fish. So that's usually what.
And I listened to yesterday on Bass Live, or it might have been on Saturday. Brandon Cobb got on there, and he won the Lake Fork event last year, obviously.
Right.
I finished 5th there last year. I had a really good tournament, caught a pile of fish, and I had a really hard time. Like when it was tough this week, you know, I caught a couple fish in practice around some of these places where I caught them last year, but for the most part, like, they were no good. I knew that. But I still, in the tournament, I went back and fished some of those places, and like it was so hard not to go back to where I caught fish when I was there last year, you know. But Cobb said the same thing. He was doing that, and he just said, you know, I have a rule usually where if you go to a place once and you don't catch anything, you know, it's probably not that wise to go back there again. And you know, and I did it multiple times this week, and I mean, we all do it. It's just human nature. But that was a mistake that I made. That was an easy one to like not make. And you know, it was interesting to hear him sort of say the same thing. And you know, he had a tough event too.
Right. I've heard that mentioned before, is, you know, every angler does it, but every angler knows how you should be relying on history, but everyone still does it. Everyone still always checks those spots that have been good in the past, but it's just those interesting topics for discussion, without a doubt. But I know Andrew had a question for you, talking about a place that you fished in the past.
Yeah.
So Andrew, fire away.
You're talking about Cayuga.
Yep.
So, you were on pace for a Century Club at Cayuga. What do you think happened? I know on day 4 it kind of like didn't unravel for you, but you didn't get the same quality of bites. What do you think happened there?
I've thought about that one a few times since then.
Tough question. I apologize.
You know what? In practice for that, I found it pretty easy. Once I figured out, I fished all offshore, fairly deep, and I was just pretty much throwing a Ned rig, a Z-Man hula stick around in practice, and I was catching. That's all I was using. Drive around till I marked something and throw it out, catch fish. It was pretty easy. And then when I was rigging up the night before the tournament, I tied a football jig up, and then the first morning, I pulled up to my first place, and I was going out thinking like I should be able to catch between like 16 and 18 pretty easy. And I think I got one over 5 in practice and a few 4-pounders. You know, I didn't see a bunch of those giant fish, but I also mark the spot. It's such a short practice. If I threw out and caught one and it was a 2 3/4 pounder, I put a dot there and just carried on. So the first morning I go out and I get to the first place that I wanted to fish, and I caught a limit pretty quick, and I caught 2 or 3 on the hula stick, and then I threw the football jig out there, and it was like they liked that even more than the Ned rig bait. And I caught a couple good ones. Like I think I had 16 or 17 pounds like on my first stop. So I'm like, okay, this is sweet. I'm gonna, if you catch what you feel like is gonna safely get you inside that top 40, I mean, that's a good week right off the hop. I mean, that takes a lot of the pressure off. You're gonna have a lot more fun. I'm a regular guy. Like those 10 grand checks are important, and they mean something to me. So. So I was in a good spot there, and then I go to my second place, and I fire the football jig out, and I catch a 5-pounder. And then I throw it again, and I catch like a 4.5. Throw it again, I got another 4 something, and now I got like 21 pounds. So I don't even throw out again on this place. I just leave, and I go to one other place that I'd found that I felt like it had some good potential. Throw out, catch another like 4.5. Now I got 22 pounds. So this is at like 10 in the morning. I drove around for like 4 hours looking for more stuff to fish, and didn't really find anything good. Grabbed around a bunch, and then at the end of the day, I was just fishing right in front of takeoff, and I caught like a 4.5 or 4 3/4 pound smallmouth. And that got me up into, I was pushing 24 the first day, and I had a smallmouth in there.
You're just like,
and then and it was just like every time I set the hook, it was over 4 pounds, and I had a big bag again, like 22 or 23, like pretty early. And then in the afternoon, it seemed like these spots, like I'd get more big ones in the afternoon, but I went over like my 3 best spots and like made like 2 casts, and I caught a 6 on one and the 5 on one and another like 4 something. And I had a 25 over 25 the second day. And then the third day I caught a bunch of fish, never caught a 4-pounder. They were all 3 somethings. And the last day it was getting tougher. And then I had smallmouths that I'd sort of found in practice too. And I looking back now, I lost by 10 ounces. And I think if I would have just I was chipping away with the smallmouth, but I wasn't getting any big ones. And I had to go back on these few deep largemouth spots I knew I was close. Like I had a 5-pound lead going into the last day. If I catch, over 17 pounds, it's probably, I'm probably going to be in shape, because most of those guys would have needed like, at that point, 25 plus to beat me. So It was interesting because Zaldane and Mullins, we were first, second, and third. We were all fishing deep offshore and fishing around each other. None of the same same spots, but same areas. And those guys were cool. They knew like right where I was fishing, and I knew where they were fishing, and we didn't, we never bothered each other. They're both top-notch guys like that. And but they really struggled on day 2 and 3, or 3 and 4 as well. I know Zaldane got on some smallmouths on the last day, but he wasn't, the first 2 days when he had the big bags, he wasn't. Those were all largemouths. But yeah, something happened. I don't think I gassed all my fish. I mean, there was a lot of fish on these places. It just, whether they moved or they didn't bite, or, yeah. But it was fun. I'd love to go back there. We were supposed to go there this year in July, and then I'm kind of, I think we have a good chance to go back there next year. So we'll see.
I hope so. That's the time you guys were supposed to come, because that's my backyard. That would have been stupid. You guys would have had so much. I'll leave it at that.
Like that lake fishes like insane from like May through the end of July. It hands down my best lake in New York from like May to July, and then after July it gets stupid tough. So,
I'll add to that. That lake is good all out of the year, except for the last 2 weeks of August and the first 2 weeks of September. Then it absolutely sucks. That's about it.
Bailey finished a fed tournament there.
Giant bag. I mean, I'm sure you've probably heard of there's a co-angler, I think it was an ABA tournament. Andy, you can correct me if was it ABA?
Yeah, it was the ABA.
There was a co-angler that had, I think it was 18 pounds for 3 fish. Crushed everybody.
He beat the boaters for 5 fish.
Yeah. It was nuts.
Wow.
The lakes got mean. Was it Derek Hudnall caught an 8-pounder while you guys were there?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the day. Like I was sitting in the bag line. That was the second day, I think, and I had like 25 pounds, and like he pulled that thing out, and I was like, oh my god, like that's making all mine look like little midgets. No, it was amazing, like, how much life there was everywhere in that lake. I mean, from shallow to 30, 35 feet. I mean, there was just so much life and bait, and it was. I really enjoyed it. I liked it, and I'd be obviously happy to go back there anytime. You guys have, I mean, I never like fishing the FLW tour for all the years that I did. I mean, I went to Champlain one time. That was the only time I ever got to fish out in New York. And then obviously Bass is going there a lot more, and we've got to fish a couple tournaments out there the last 2 years. So you guys have like phenomenal bass fishing. Yeah, it'd be my favorite place in the whole country to go for sure.
Oh, 100%.
We get that answer a lot. How much everyone loves New York. We just have dumb fish. They're just dumb.
Well, I mean, it helps, but I mean, like a lot of our finger lakes, like Cayuga, for example. I mean, when you come up here, it's. I mean, Andy or Jeff and you both could probably attest to it from fishing. I mean, it's a textbook lake. Like where fish would look what they would be, they are. It's nothing confusing. That's what's kind of nice about it.
They definitely read the book of bass.
Yes,
like
they read the textbook.
Yeah.
100%.
So yeah, I enjoyed it, and then like Champlain too. I mean, if you go down the list of like the profile of all the pro anglers, I mean, over half of them for sure are going to have Lake Champlain as their favorite lake, and
Would you say that's your favorite in New York?
Man, it's tough. Like between the river and Champlain, and then obviously like Cayuga had such a great event there last year. I mean, I don't know if I'd say I probably would say the river's my favorite. Just but I've fished out there like 10 or 12 days is all. But I really enjoyed that. I mean, we could have went to the lake this year, but I really enjoyed fishing in the river last year, and I'm certainly not a river rat or anything, but that's with we only getting a 3-day practice. I just fished the river again this year, and had a lot of stuff all to myself, and had a tough first day. Like I found some good stuff. Fighter and I both
first day, right?
Yeah, I had a tough day, and then the second day I had like 23 or 24 pounds, and I had 21 or 22 in the first like 40 minutes in the morning. It was just place that I fished the first day, and they weren't there, or not biting or whatever, and they were snapping the second day. But that's the one thing I've learned there. I mean, it's the fishing's so good, and this anywhere in New York, if you're not catching them, and there's nothing like super weird going on with the weather, you got to keep moving and find biters. Like that's.
Right.
You might have to fish through water. Yeah, you got it. Because like if you're not catching, and at the St. Lawrence, 3-pounders are no good. I mean, that just is no good. So you gotta keep it rolling, and you can survive there. Like if you get a 20-pound bag, I mean that doesn't no good.
That's pretty crazy when you think about it. It's like, I got 20 pounds there. Am I going to be in 30th or 60th?
Uh-oh.
Oh, can you hear me?
I'm clear again now.
Right. I was going to say, it's pretty crazy when you fish these like New York events and you have 20 pounds. You're like, crap, am I in 30th
I got you good now.
Today?
I think we got a delay again.
Okay, hang on.
Take your time.
We had another delay. He's gonna come back in a second. But dude, it's to his point too, and I'll reiterate it when he comes back on here. But it's like a lot of these lakes up here, and I'm sure. I mean, I don't know how I can't speak for it doing that. Down south. Here he goes. He's joining back in here. 1 second, folks. You got us now?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, cool.
Perfect.
So what I was saying to Andy when you left the stream to join back in was, and I can't speak for down south or maybe Midwest, is that at least for around us, if you're around these 2-3 pounders, you got to keep moving because a lot of class likes to stay around its own class. So if you find 5 pounders, stay around those fish because chances are you're going to catch another 5, maybe 6, maybe a 4. But class tends to roam with class, is what I've found.
Yeah, I'd agree for sure. I mean, there's some I think at the river, if you're just catching a bunch of fish, you're gonna get some shots at some big ones. I mean, you could catch 2 pounders mixed in with 5 pounders there, but I think for the most part, you're right at most bodies of water. Yeah,
right,
for sure.
Yeah. Andy, you got anything left for Jeff here? Or any of the folks got anything left for Jeff?
I was gonna say last year when you guys came to the St. Lawrence and both the U.S. and Canada were in play, I think that was last year, right? And then you had 20 pounds all the way down to 60th place or something ridiculous on day one. That had to have been a pretty crazy surreal. You're like, I have 20 pounds, and all of a sudden you're sitting in 52nd. You're like, what the heck did I do wrong? You have 20 pounds anywhere else in the country, you're in the top 10, and you go to the St. Lawrence and you're in 50th. It's just insane how good that fishery can be.
Yeah, I mean and that's why I would have a hard time, saying that I want to go anywhere else. And the nice thing in the river, I mean, it can get kind of rough, but you're not gonna get weathered out really. You can kind of hide and you're still, the other cool thing that I really like is you could literally catch 5 pounders in 3 feet of water or 53 feet of water. I mean, there's fish everywhere, and you can really fish however you want. I mean, you see Rick Clunn, he catches 21 or 22 pounds there this year on a spinnerbait the first day. Steve Kennedy's up throwing a big giant swim bait catching them, and then you got guys that are out, dropping in 50 feet. It's just a cool place to fish and giant fish.
And then there's largemouth that nobody targets.
Except for Brock Mosley.
Yeah, except for Brock Mosley.
and that's the shame of it. It would almost be fun, I hope we just keep going there every year because it's so fun to fish. But it would be cool if we went there one year and they just made it a largemouth only derby, because I'm launching my boat in some of these bays that have largemouths in them, and in practice, and I'm sure it would be the funnest day I had all summer if I went and largemouth fished. But you can't. I mean, you kind of got to go smallmouth fish for the most part. And I know just from watching some of the past shows, there's been guys that have made the top 10 largemouth fishing. But I mean, you go there, you got a smallmouth fish pretty much. But
you have to, yeah,
100%. When you look at the class of the fish that Paul Mueller caught on day one, it's oh my gosh.
Yeah,
yeah, unreal. But those shallow creatures on that river are absolutely so much fun, even if you don't catch them. I mean, when I went up there this past summer, just watching them chase a glide bait or something is you don't catch them, but you're dancing around like a little schoolgirl watching them all chasing your glide bait. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
You're laughing like a little kid. It's just a fun fishery all the way around it. Like you mentioned, you can literally do whatever you want.
Yeah. So we've been told, we don't have our schedule yet for next year, but that was one that, we kind of had a good idea we were going back to, and they've told us that we are going back to the St. Lawrence. So Looking forward to
they
that for
signed
sure.
a multi-year agreement 2 years ago to go up there for a couple of years. I feel like, didn't they?
Yeah, I don't think he heard you, Andy.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm cutting out again.
Uh-oh.
Happens. Good old internet.
Yeah, I'm sorry, boys.
It's all good. No worries. But yeah, no, we're excited for you to come up to the river. That'll be a blast. You there,
Sure,
Jeff?
let's plan that.
Yeah.
I am, but it's coming in and out.
Okay, well, if you can hear us, our last question for you. And if you listen to the show, then you oh, there you go. Canadian internet.
I'm done.
Peace. That would be hilarious if he just didn't come back. He just didn't come back, and he goes, "Sick of you guys."
Bunch of schmucks. Out of here.
Right. There we go. Hopefully, we can connect him enough for our last question here. He's joining back in. Let's see. All right, you got us?
Yeah, we're good. If it starts back up again, then we'll try and plan to do something like this again, and when I'm out in New York, maybe in the summer.
Oh, heck yeah! Dude, you're always welcome on the show, and when you're up here, we'll have to link up. But I think it should, hopefully it holds out for our last question for you here.
And 2 questions.
Two questions.
This is a hockey question. What do the Jets do with Patrick Laine?
Great question.
I don't know.
So I know you're a Winnipeg fan. I do follow you on Instagram, so I've seen you post about Winnipeg games. So
yeah.
One, are the Jets going to be good next year with probably the shortened season due to COVID? And what do they do with Laine, in your opinion?
I mean, I don't know. I think they got to keep them just if they can, but they're in a tough spot. I mean, they got some other superstar players and they all got to get paid. So I mean, I don't know I haven't got the impression that he doesn't want to be there. If he does, then let him go. But if he wants to be there, then I mean, he's still really young. He can bury the puck, so we'll see.
They got the roster to win. I'm genuinely surprised the Jets haven't won yet.
Their D got kind of gutted here over the last year and a half, so that was like the biggest thing that really hurt them, because their forwards are like best in the league and the goalie's best in the league, but their D is a lot of these guys got a year of experience. Well, maybe this year it'll be a little better.
Right. The big buff can't hold it all down by himself.
No, he's done. He's all. He's a good buddy of mine,
right? Or like partially retired and didn't say what he was doing, type deal. Is that what happened?
Yeah, no, he's done. He's not. He's all done.
Oh man, I didn't know that. He was always fun to watch.
Yeah, he's like favorite player in the league to watch. But he plays a big game, and just his body was kind of wore out. That was all it was. All it was really, and he's fishing lots now.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll see some guide trips with the snow leopard and the big buff.
Never know.
Right.
Never know.
Well, here, Jeff, we have our last question for you, so we don't take up too much of your night here. But so you mentioned that you've listened to the show before, so you probably know what's coming to you. But the question for you is, if you could sit down, have a beer, have a steak with 3 different people, who would you invite and why? They could be present, they could be 400 years ago. It doesn't have to be fishing industry. Anybody in the world, who would you invite?
Oh, right off the bat, first guy that comes to mind, Trip Weldon. He's got a little tough battle going on with cancer right now. We all found out about, and man, I don't know him real well, but just his, he's impressed. I got a lot of respect for him. So yeah, I actually sent him a message and told him that anytime he wants to go smallmouth fishing, he's got a place to come up here and get away from that brutal summer heat they have in Alabama. So, probably Sidney Crosby. Pittsburgh's my favorite hockey team, actually, and like Jets are second.
You're talking to a huge Pittsburgh fan there in Bailey, like idolize.
Oh yeah,
oh yeah.
Cool, nice. So, funny story. So Mike Richards is from Kenora as well, and he was the captain of the Flyers. In the late 2008 to 2011, and so they had a really good team, and Pittsburgh did during that time frame. So they had some killer playoff series, and I had to keep my Penguins fandom, and I've loved them. I loved Mario when I was a little kid, so I liked them even when they sucked for 15 years, and but I had to keep it on the down low, when I was around Richie or. I remember I ran into his mom one time in the middle of one of these playoff series, and I think I had a Pittsburgh hat on or something, and she saw me, and I turned it around backwards, and I'm like, she had me. And Mike's a really good friend of mine, and we fished together quite a bit, so that was always kind of funny, and they had some battles, but and then who else? Probably Ron Linder. Another, he's 87 years old. He's fighting some cancer stuff now too, and just a guy that the whole Linder family has just been really supportive of me since I was a little kid. And Ron actually used to come up and fish quite a few tournaments up here around Lake of the Woods and Rainy Lake, and when I was a teenager, 20 years ago, he would make side bets with me, and for $100 or I could pick 10 lures out of Al's tackle box, or just was really awesome to me when I was a little kid. And I fished with him several times, but it's been a while. But just those guys that are just legends. Larry Nixon, another one of all the legendary anglers, him and Rick Clun are I've got to meet and talk to in the bag line and just be around, and they're just awesome dudes. So I feel pretty blessed in that regard that I have a little bit of a relationship with those guys.
Heck yeah.
So that would be one final question. I apologize. Now we're getting to 3. How happy?
As long as it's fun for me, I feel bad because my internet's so sucky here tonight.
Oh, you're good. We're kicking right now. We're good.
So how blessed / happy are you with the move to Bass? Tough question.
I was the fastest guy that ever said yes to that. Honestly, I never had a bad experience in my time with FLW. I really didn't. It was awesome. But Bassmasters is for sure, no question, a bigger stage. And just they've treated us so awesome. Since I've been going, I went over there, and especially now with no one knows what's going to happen with the FLW tour. So I feel super blessed and lucky, big time.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be crazy to see the opens in the coming years. I mean, it's crazy enough this year to see the field and see how tough it is, but I have friends that are looking at going into the opens next year, and they're like, dude, it's like another Elite Series out there. It's crazy.
And I believe me, it's so hard to qualify, and I got really lucky that I didn't have to go through all that. I mean, I got fortunate. I mean, I've been doing this for long enough, and I was coming off a really good year, and it worked out. But yeah, it's tough to make it through those opens. It's you're seeing this year, there's definitely some of the experienced guys are kind of rising to the top. But it's, none of them have had, nobody has has gone without a hiccup yet in those. So yeah, it'll be pretty exciting to watch these last couple. And you just know, like, all these new guys that are coming in are like hammers, like when they step into it, and it's just going to keep getting more and more competitive for sure.
Right.
Well, especially if you see like the Christies coming and the Greg Hackney, Scott Martin. You fished against Scott Martin for years, but it's like coming to the Bass, it's just going to make it even bigger. I feel like that they're coming back, and then you get some of the bigger FLW guys coming in. Just crazy.
Yeah. No, I mean, you look at Christie, Hackney, Justin Atkins is
oh yeah,
he's probably make it. I mean, he won the Forestwood Cup a few years ago. He's super good. And he runs with Brandon Cobb and Shane LaHue, and good buddies. They're good buddies of mine too, and like they're all it's super competitive, and so and then there's some guys on there that I don't know anything about, but like if they're at the top of that list, they're like Kyle Welcher this year, like no one really knew anything about him, and like he had a few hiccups up north because he'd never fished up north this year. Otherwise, he probably smokes everyone for AOI. Like the guy is like just had a killer year, and I don't think, and I like a lot of us have buddies that we like talk to during practice a little bit and compare notes with. I mean, amongst our group at the house, we all share info a little bit, and like we're not like sharing spots usually, but just like comparing notes a little bit. Like most of the guys are doing that, and like I don't think he was doing that with anyone really. Like as far as I know, I don't know, but he really impressed me this year, just as far as like very consistent and confident all year.
Right. Kept his cool, didn't make any crazy rash decisions, and it was pretty cool to pick his brain too when he came on the show. It was very level-headed. Obviously, you could hear the passion in his voice. I mean, even watching him on live, obviously you saw the dude knew what the hell he was doing.
You guys spoke with him right before the Gunnersville this trip started. I remember listening to that when I was actually practicing for Gunnersville, and I mean, he was confident going into those last few tournaments, and he did well. Like,
right.
So
I think he was 10th overall AOI.
Yeah.
Who knows what that would be without, like you just mentioned, without those northern tournaments? Who knows?
Yeah, probably top 3 or 4. He probably would have challenged Austin for Rookie of the Year at the very least.
Right.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
So. And you got anything left for Jeff?
I'm good. Except for if you ever have a free few days, you have to fish Buffalo because it may change your mind on the St. Lawrence when it's right.
Okay. Okay. Hopefully I will next summer at some point, and that would be awesome. I'd love to get out there and play around for sure.
And it's awesome. It's one of those places like kind of like the St. Lawrence. Anywhere you go, if you find the right stuff, you are going to catch them. So
usually.
Well,
Jeff, we want to say thank you for taking the time out of your night. We really appreciate it, and dude, it's been a blast. It's been a get to know you a little bit more, and you're more than welcome to be on the show whenever you want, man.
Okay, boys, we'll keep up the good work, and you got lots of us guys that fish a lot. Listen to every episode, and you guys do a good job. So keep it rolling.
We appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I had no idea. You made my day saying that you listened to the show. It's like, all right, so okay, we're getting some respect here to the name. I like it. All right.
No, I never watch any of the podcasts like live, so I'm not a live listener. But I download them all just on my phone, and I usually listen to them when I'm fishing by myself in the boat, and that's when I enjoy it the most. But I like the show, and you got a big fan here for sure.
I appreciate it, man. I'm the same way. I usually don't watch any podcasts, but the ones I do watch are like the ones with your group with Fighter and Grow on Straightcast. I do tend to watch those just because I watch those.
That's because you never know what's going to happen on there, those guys. But
right.
Yeah.
Well,
I think you guys we're for sure coming to New York next summer, so we should try and we'll be all staying in a house somewhere there, and we should try and get together and with the whole crew, and it'd probably be pretty fun.
Heck yeah.
100%, man. That would be a blast.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff. We appreciate your time. Dude. Take care, and hopefully you got a little bit.
Stay healthy and safe, and relax for February or whenever the season starts. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man.
Okay, boys.
We'll talk soon.
Day.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Take care.
Thank you again.
Bye. Dude, that was a blast. Who knew that Jeff Gustafson listened to the Serious Angler podcast?
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, for this whole time, I thought only scrubs like Forrest and Zach listened to the show. Apparently,
where was Forrest tonight?
Forrest was being a scrub. Zach tuned in, thankfully. Thank you to Zach.
Yeah.
My
Forrest
father chimed in tonight.
Just slaying on a Finger Lake in his kayak all day.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Yeah, quick shout out to my dad chiming in tonight in the questions on Facebook and asked when we're talking about redfish, because my dad only cares about saltwater and only saltwater.
Except for that day we spent together.
Yeah.
You complained about Five Guys and not getting a milkshake. I will never forget that day.
That is not material for the live show.
He's like, oh yeah, Bailey likes Five Guys.
Oh, great. Here we go. No, my dad always knocks freshwater fishing, but him laughing like a little kid during Lake Erie spawn was a treat.
I think we laughed for 7 hours straight. Once we got him to fire, that day was just so fun and hilarious. It was wild.
Fun times.
We'll have to do it again this spring.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah. Hopefully I'll have my own boat by then. But no, that was a good show, dude. That was awesome talking to the old snow leopard, and now we know why he's called the snow leopard. That's good stuff. And I didn't know he was a guide for hunting wolves.
That's so cool. I kind of want to go up there and go wolf hunting.
Right?
I don't even care about the fishing. I want to go shoot a wolf. And I want a wolf rug. I wanted to ask him after he said do you have any wolf rugs in the house?
Get the rug and make a hoodie out of it, and that's your tournament get up.
Weigh in with a wolf face.
Yes. Now that is intimidation right there.
Pull up 2 7-pounders with a wolf helmet, mask on.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Unreal.
Maybe if they have a fall derby on Halloween, that would be a great weigh-in segment. All the elite anglers had to wear a Halloween mask.
That would be pretty cool. Something different. Yeah. Something a little bit festive. Yeah. That's cool. You got any last remarks here for the show?
Nah, man, we are cool here. That was a fun night. Thanks everyone for joining in, and be on the lookout for our 150 episode giveaway that we're going to work on. No details now because we just thought of it tonight, but we will get back to you.
We just decided tonight we're going to do a giveaway on Wednesday, and we're going to try to make this big. So Andy and I are going to get off here. We're going to work on that the next couple of days, and Wednesday morning for that episode. Stay tuned. Be sure to tune into that for see what we're gonna do. We're gonna reach out to a couple of companies we work with, see if we can get anything going and get creative with this one. But that should be a blast. But before we leave here, guys, if you guys are looking for some tungsten jigs, I want to plug this here real quick. Check out Queen Tackle. You can save yourself 20% off if you want any tungsten weights, tungsten jigs. Very affordable. Obviously high quality, or we would not be plugging it. The Queens, it's a family-run business, great people. Go check them out over at queentackle.com. Link is in the description below. But I think that does it for tonight. So thank you guys again for watching and listening. See you guys on Wednesday.